Hello, guys. Welcome back to another Cinematic Mike review. Today, I'm going to review Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. The Irishman came out like about 3, 4 years ago, I think. We're in 2022, 2021, 2020. Yeah, I think it came out 2019, so it'd probably be like 4 years, I believe, that it came out. So I told you guys last time when I was doing my Criterion collection of The Irishman unboxing, that I might have done a review on it, but I looked through my whole channel and I saw that I didn't do one. The thing that I was thinking of is I think I might have tried to done one, but I think it was at the time that I didn't know how to edit properly, how to work on sound and all that, and it was coming out pretty crappy. And I think I just decided to give up because I'm pretty sure I did record myself trying to do a review on it, but I gave up. At the time, I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. I mean, I'm not perfect right now either. I'm still learning things as I go. But it's good enough for me to actually be confident enough to put up my YouTube videos and do reviews and unboxings and all that. So yeah, so I decided, I'm like, oh, well, if I didn't do one, then I'll do it now since I put on the film last night. I put it on last night and it was great. It was just the way the first time when I watched it, I love it, every single second of it. And yeah, Martin Scorsese, the thing that I told you guys last time too, that I have a I have my top five favorite films, and inside those top five favorite films, one of them is Mean Streets by Martin Scorsese, which is like one of his, not his first, but kind of close to one of his first pictures. And one of the things that I love about Martin Scorsese's like gangster films is that that one seems like the origin of his gangster films, because that one feels like it's one of the things that I love about that film is that one feels like a coming of age of these young guys that are getting involved in this life that they probably shouldn't have, because they're getting involved into the mob with Harvey Keitel's uncle kind of being like a mob guy and him trying to be part of trying to get into that business with him and all that. And it's cool because in that film, they're kind of like playful. They're kind of like high still. They come off to me like if they just got out of high school, or they're kids that should still be in college, but at the same time they're doing these things that are serious, and they're becoming adults and mature, and taking things serious. Some people owe debts to other people and all that. Things are someone's trying to take care of their other friend, because he can get into some serious shit. Then we can jump all the way into, I mean, even Raging Bull kind of has a little bit of the gangster thing in it. But we can jump into Goodfellas too, where it's already like at an older age. We're focusing at an older age with Henry Hill being around his 30s or 40s, with the mob and all that, everything that's going on there. Then we go to Casino, where obviously Robert De Niro's more older here. So is Joe Pesci. They seem like really older than a bit 30 and 40 right here. And then when we get to the Irishman kind of is basically telling the story of these guys that are like in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s kind of. So it feels, I think it's kind of cool. It's something that I picked up on it on my own. I'm not sure if you guys see it that way too, but I like that thing about it, how it goes from like being young to like all the way of his filmography, all the way to the end with the Irishman of being older gangsters and all that. So he told a story from like different eras of the gangster ages and all that. One of the things that I love about Martin Scorsese is, I mean, there's a lot of things you can love about Martin Scorsese as a director and what he does with films. And he does a lot of work with the camera, which I think is amazing, because I don't know, it gets you more sucked into its creative way. I can't do those things. I don't know how to have a vision to like, okay, let's do a tracking shot here. Let's do a push in here. Let's do a freeze here and all that, He does all these amazing things. And there's something just great about telling the story with the camera, which is something great. And I always admire directors that actually do that with the camera and the story that they're trying to tell. One of the things that I noticed in the first, and this is something that I talked about before when I did a review on like my social media or something. The opening shot, it's like a square, like it opens up with like a square and all. And I think that was the same way that Mean Streets opened up with like these. I think it might have been just like these little shots of like the streets or something, but it was like in a square. And it's right here too, it opens up like that, which is kind of reminiscent of the older films. I felt like a lot of things in this film were paying respect to his other gangster type of films, which was amazing. We also open up here with music, which is something that I love. Martin Scorsese has great taste in music, and I love the music choice that he puts in his films. I always had a fascination with the like 50s, 60s kind of era music. I used to listen to that when I was doing Lyft and Uber. When I was driving, I would put it on my Pandora. I don't know what station I was on, but all these classical like songs would come on, and from like that time, and I would love listening to it, and just hearing all the songs that are in the film is great, and it reminds me because he does a lot. He puts a lot of music into his films. I think even back then, I don't know what behind the scenes I saw, but I think he would put notes to like what song he would want in that scene. So it's great, and I think he has great taste in music, and it helps with the story, and it's just nice to just listen to that music and watch the story play out. Again, another thing that I think he does here, which is something Martin Scorsese does, he does that whole kind of breaking the fourth wall thing where he's talking to the characters are kind of talking to the audience. And when we meet Frank Sheeran, Robert De Niro's character, in this shot where it's like a square and we're going inside the this uh older place, I forgot what the proper term for it, the uh uh old people's home. I know there's a better word. I just can't put it. I can't get it in my head right now. This old people's home. This old people's home. We get introduced to Frank Sheeran, and then he starts talking, and it seems like he's talking to us, the audience. And I don't think he did it in Mean Streets, but I do know he obviously did it in Goodfellas with Henry Hill talking to us, the audience, explaining all the things that went wrong and what happened and all that. And then the same thing with the Casino. He does it in Casino too. I think Joe Pesci looks at us and talks to us, or just saying, basically the way they're talking is kind of like they're talking to us. And so he kind of does it here. So that's a nice touch that I liked, and it seems like something that is so like Scorsese to do, like this whole kind of breaking the fourth wall and talking to the audience. There's a scene that I like with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci where I think they're having the bread and putting it in the wine, which is in the book. Well, if you haven't read I Heard You Paint Houses, you should pick it up and read it. I think a little bit before this movie was going to come out, I ended up buying the book and I have it. I read it. It's a good book. So I don't know if they properly talk about this, but I think in the book it's explained about how they love putting the bread in the wine and all that. I think it's right here where he talks about where Joe Pesci Buffalino is asking him about the war, and he's talking about his experience, and he talks about how he prayed a lot, and how he said to God, he's like he would pray that he would never sin again. And this dialogue, it got me this time. I paid attention to it this time that I watched it last night. I don't think I picked up on it when I was watching it when it barely came out. And to me, it goes back to like what happens at the end. This whole thing that he says, I pray, because Martin Scorsese, I think he's Catholic. And a lot of his films have to do with like, sins of these people that are sinning and all that. So right here, yeah, he's basically praying to God, saying, I won't ever sin again. But throughout this movie, you obviously see that's not true. He's actually what we would say a sinner. And I think it goes with what happens at the end of this film, with his character. And I think it's like something that comes back to kind of haunt him, because he ended up making this vow, but it kind of he didn't keep to it, So yeah, I like that whole dialogue right there. To me, I picked up on that, and then watching the film like towards the end, it's kind of heartbreaking. But then thinking about it in that way, not everybody thinks the same way, but it's just something that I liked about it and the way I picked up on it, about this giving this promise to God, but then going against it after, and then look now, is God still there to help you out now since you like basically kind of betrayed him? As I said many times, Boardwalk Empire is my number one all time favorite show. So, and the girl that plays Jimmy Darmony's wife plays Frank Sheeran's wife in this film, which was amazing to see her right there again, her face and all that. I forgot the actress's name, but it was nice to see her. It goes back to like my time when I was watching Boardwalk Empire, and there's a few others like Stephen Graham, Bobby Cannavale's in here. They're all from Boardwalk Empire. There's like two other ones too that I think were from Boardwalk Empire that are in here too. They just play like side guys, part of a mob and all that. But it was amazing to see that. Man, I was so excited for Joe Pesci to come back. I was praying. I was following this whole thing throughout like the years before it even came out. How they kept saying that, oh yeah, we're asking Joe Pesci to come join us, but he keeps giving us the middle, telling us to fuck off and this and that. He doesn't want to do it. And I was like, damn. And I was just like, damn, I wish he would go. And I didn't think he was going to do it. And then eventually they got him to actually say yes. And so it's amazing because that dude like retired. I think the last film that he came on was like just just to help out a friend with, I think it was Robert De Niro that directed the film called The Good Shepherd. I think he appeared in there, and that was like, and I think he was retired at that time. He just did that for Robert De Niro, I think. So it's been a long time since we've seen him in a film as a big picture and all that, since like Raging Bull, Casino. Uh, so it was nice to actually finally see him again, and he's a great actor and someone like we all admire. And a lot of people know him because of this funny scenes from like Goodfellas, like you think that's funny and all that. So I knew like a lot of people would want to see it because it's like, oh, he's coming back. Him and De Niro are back again, and it'd be amazing. So and he comes back in this film, and man, this dude, his eyes, and I think he plays what's known. This guy Russell Buffalino was known as the Quiet Don. And right here too, I love things like I talked about Pattinson with his eyes in Batman, and Good Time. And I love these things where people can do things with their eyes, where they can just say what you're feeling with the eyes. And I think he really takes that here, where he knows that the character he's playing was known as the Quiet Dawn, and he didn't need to say much, but just by the look on his eyes. And there's scenes in here where he looks like really mean. Like there's a scene where I think Sheeran goes out to bomb a place. He got set up by this guy named Whispers, and then Angelo brings him in, saying like, "What are you doing? That's my place." And Russell's kind of giving him this look, like where he's really disappointed him, like really like he gives him this look, like serious look. And I think it's great the way he does it. There's another scene too. I think with that other guy at the club, with Don Rickles, and she just gives this expression that's not the same as this one, but just that look that says like, you know what you have to do, and just that look on his face, and it's incredible to see him. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to see him, man. These guys are at the top of their game, man. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Harvey Keitel. They're all like legends to me, and especially Martin Scorsese, being directed by Martin Scorsese. That's just like gold right there for me. I got excited too, as I said, because Harvey Keitel is from Mean Streets, and I'm like, oh, they're all praising like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci. And then when I saw that Harvey Keitel, I don't even know if I knew that until like the teaser trailer came out with the gun, like the 1 minute teaser where it was just like the gun, and then it has the names popping up, and Harvey Keitel pops up, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, he's coming back. I'm like, I don't know if many people know, but I'm like, he's basically from like the first Martin Scorsese film, which is a gangster film, Mean Streets. He was the main character, and that's what got me excited. I'm like, hell yeah, it's gonna be. These guys are all here. They're all coming back. I think even Ray Liotta was thinking about how what he was doing. Saw what Scorsese was doing, was bringing back all these old members from like the very start of his career. It's the very start of these gangster pictures that he was doing. Al Pacino in this film is actually hilarious, man. He's always hilarious in a lot of films. And I forgot around the time that this came out, I forgot that he does that whole yelling thing and this explosive thing. And he's so funny in this film. There's even parts where he acts like a child, and it kind of plays off with where you would believe that's kind of what that character would do when he doesn't like the other character, like Stephen Graham's character who plays Tony Pro. I love the scenes with him and Tony Pro. They're hilarious, just the way they act with one another, like these little kids. Like it's just they act so childish. And so I think it's amazing. Al Pacino's great. Even the scene where he's insulting all his members, like, you guys fucked me over, you guys screwed me over, and Robert De Niro walks out like, you're not gonna talk to me that way. And so all that stuff is funny. He's great, man. Al Pacino's great. Robert De Niro's great. Joe Pesci's great. Harvey Keitel has a small role, but he does great. As I said, this film seems like it's paying some respects to like his older gangster films or just his films. And there's a scene where Sharon's getting ready to pick a gun to see what he's going to use to go kill somebody. And for me, I don't know for you guys, but for me, the scene, and I saw it in the trailer too, and I'm like, man, you could see all these things in the trailer, and you're like, damn, it just says Martin Scorsese right there. And all these guns are right there. And for me, it just brought back memories to Taxi Driver when he's actually trying to select the gun. And I think it's on the bed also. But right here, you have all these different guns right there, and he's trying to select the perfect one for how to be quiet, how to be smooth, how to just get in and go. So I thought it was amazing to me, those little things that go back to it. There's even a scene, I think, which goes back. This one goes to Taxi Driver. The opening shot goes back to Mean Streets for me. There's a scene where Al Pacino's wife, Jimmy Hoffa's wife, I think, Joe, she gets in the car when all that shit goes down, and there's a war kind of basically going on with Pro and Jimmy Hoffa, and like threats are going on, and she gets fired from the job, and then she gets in her car and she's about to turn on the ignition, and that shit just reminded me a lot about Casino, and it's something that happened. It was common at that time with these gangsters that your car would have a bomb underneath or something. And so just that moment where she gets in there, the thing that I'm thinking of is Casino, and I'm like, oh shit, that shit's gonna blow up. And she pauses for a moment, and then she just turns on the ignition, and we just quickly see a flash of a car blowing up, but then it goes back, and you see that didn't happen to her. But all that stuff was nice because it's like little treats, you know. It's like this was the big cake of the gangster movies of Martin Scorsese. As I said, I do love the scenes with Jimmy Hoffa and Tony Pro, especially the scene where I think they're in Florida, and then Jimmy Hoffa tells him, he's like, "All right, let's handle that other thing," and he tells him, "I can't help you." You know, he's talking about his pensions and his pension fund or something like that, and he's like, "No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that insult that you did in at the prison." And then they just start going at it, and you can tell that they kind of know each other, and they know what's gonna trigger them. You know, they kind of want to leave like the with pride, you know, like, I beat him, you know. So the scene is so funny between Tony Pro and Jimmy Hoffa. Stephen Graham, who does an amazing job, who played Al Capone in Boardwalk Empire, Babyface Nelson in Public Enemies. He's a great actor, and This Is England too. He's a great actor, one of my favorite actors. And him and Al Pacino here are just freaking hilarious, and just that bickering and like childish kind of act, and then even there were like members like Frank's like the bodyguard to Hoffa, and then even Tony Pro's like bodyguard. They're all kind of laughing like, "Come on, guys, you guys gotta stop acting like that. Come on, you guys serious? Come on, just stop." They even start laughing about the situation. They're like, "Are you guys serious? Come on." And so that scene's just hilarious, just the way the beats are right there. It's nice. I did mention this in when I went to go see this in the theater, because I did see it on the opening weekend and probably like the first day that I came out, I think. Uh it was hilarious. The film has a lot of funny moments. Still made me laugh too throughout the time that I was watching it last night. It still made me laugh, and you can feel that all that comedy in there, that sense of humor that it has, and it was in the theater too. So all that's great, and then it built. And this is what I love about films like this. You know, it gets you laughing, it gets you going, and all that. But then it gets serious, and it gets more effective when something was going on really happy, but then a twist just pops up out of nowhere, and it gets serious, where, okay, this is where shit's going down, you know, and this is something kind of heartbreaking and all that. And I think this is where some of the great performances are by Joe Pesci, Al Pacino, and Robert De Niro, like some of the greatest acting that I've seen in film. And these are like the golden scenes that I love. These are the ones that I always want to see, that I'm always like want to get to, is just the performance because of the acting in here. And it's those scenes right there, especially so eventually Jimmy Hoffa is opening his mouth too much, you know. He let someone take over his union, and so he's trying to get it back, and he starts opening his mouth about the mob. The mob doesn't like what he's saying, you know, because it's gonna bring in some heat, might bring in some heat, you know, some investigations. They don't like it. They think he's going too crazy and might sell them out and all that. You know, they try to talk to him. He won't listen. Even Frank talks to him. He won't listen. I think Buffalino talks to him too. Won't listen. It comes down to it where, you know, if you guys haven't seen the film, then don't listen. Yeah, it comes down to, you know, we're gonna have to whack you, you know, because we're not gonna risk getting caught and all that, you know, risk losing a lot of money. And this falls on Frank Sheeran, who actually has become close to Jimmy Hoffa throughout this film. Buffalino set it up. Buffalino's the one who introduced Frank Sheeran to Jimmy Hoffa, you know, because Jimmy Hoffa was having some issues. So Hoffa thought he needed like a guard, a bodyguard, or a friend, you know, and Buffalino suggested Frank Sheeran, you know, as a bodyguard. They became close, you know, they have admiration for each other, you know, support each other. And even in this moment, Frank knows something's going on, and he wants to be protective of, he knows he owes respect to Buffalino, you know, he owes a lot of respect to him, but he also has this admiration for Jimmy Hoffa, and feels like he has to be protective of him with the situation that's going on right now. And so Hoffa tells him, "Hey, I'm gonna meet up with some guys. I set it up, you know. I changed my mind." And Sharon's kind of a little bit worried about that, you know. And it comes to this scene where him and Buffalino are in the back of a kitchen making some salad or something, I believe, and he's all worried about Jimmy, and he's telling like Buffalino that he has to go. He can't be late. That it's serious, you know. He can't leave him alone. And just Pesci, the way he just tells him, he's like, "We did all we could for that man." And the look on Frank, like, it's just Robert De Niro is kind of like, just, oh man, it made me be like, oh man, that's messed up, you know, that's his friend. And the look that he gives is like a kid that's kind of like, oh, okay, like he can't do anything about it, but he knows what's gonna happen, and he's just kind of like he's like in a hard place, and just that, and just the way that Pesci delivers that line, and then the look on Robert De Niro's face is like it's really touching, and I'm like, damn, I'm like, and you can kind of feel it, and so that's where it kind of gets like teary eyed. A lot of my favorite scenes are at the like at the end of the film, like the last hour, like when all the shit goes down, of when they make the decision that they're gonna have to kill Jimmy Hoffa, because that's where we get the great performances by these great actors. And it just, the story is great, the way they build up to all this heartbreak and the story about like having to do something that you don't want to do. And it's not only something that I think goes to Frank Sheeran, who's like his friend, it also goes to freaking Buffalino. Also, you can see, he is serious about it, but he also was trying to help out and didn't. It's kind of something that I think he wanted to avoid also. And it's just a complicated situation, but in the life that they're in, they can't take the risk on going, letting something happen, and the other scene that's a great, like, I love that scene right there. Then there's the scene when they have breakfast together at the table, and which is an amazing scene where he finally tells them, and this is where it breaks my heart. This is where I really get sad and my eyes start getting watery for Frank, and especially the way Robert De Niro does the performance as that character, because just the look on his face, even when I was in the theater, I kind of wanted to cry. In this scene is just like where he tells him that he has to be the one to actually take care of him, and how he had to put him in there, and telling him like, I know you cared about him, basically, and all this, like, I didn't want this on you and all that stuff, and just the look where he's just quiet and kind of shocked and kind of like just not liking what he's hearing, but he knows he's gonna have to go through with it, because he's stuck right here because Buffalino also kind of made him, basically took care of him too, you know, and so he's gonna have to do it for him, otherwise his life is gonna go to crap too if he doesn't take care of the business that he has to. And that scene's just incredible, especially like even just the gesture, the Buffalino kind of giving him the cereal is something nice, and and kind of just taking care of him like as a kid and all that. But still, just this news about like, hey, you're gonna be the one that's gonna have to take care of this. It's either him or us, and we can't let that happen. And so, incredible scene right there with the Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro, and even the scene at the when they're doing the, I forgot what it was called, where they're recognizing Frank Sheeran. That's where a lot of great performances are too. Especially Robert De Niro and Al Pacino right there, and even Joe Pesci with Al Pacino, which I haven't seen them in a film together, I think. And right here, they're finally together, and great actors together. Someone like Al Pacino and Joe Pesci, Buffalino telling him, "Hey man, some people are concerned. Not me, but some people are concerned. Is there anything like that you need help with? Is there a reason why you're acting like this?" And it's just pride. Mostly Jimmy Hoffa is just like pride, like, no, this is my union and all that. And he just starts blowing up, and it's a great scene between two great actors. And then it goes to the other actor too with Al Pacino. It goes to Robert De Niro and Al Pacino both, and Robert De Niro really being concerned about Al Pacino's character about getting whacked, and he's basically trying to warn him, hey man, you gotta do something, because they're gonna end up, they already told me that they might do something. And just the expression on the way that Al Pacino plays his character of Jimmy Hoffa is amazing. The way he that look that he gives, where he's kind of like thrown back, and then he kind of laughs about it. He's like, they wouldn't dare. And then he starts blowing up like, basically, if they do, I got them, and basically just the way he plays that off, and then just the look on De Niro's face, the way the camera's framed on both. And what I noticed, the camera's right close-ups on both of them, which is focusing more on the performance than anything else, and great, especially in this important scene right here. And it's some of the scenes that I felt are like the most juiciest with acting by great actors and all that. Those are the ones that I look forward to also. And so yeah, that's what I like about that stuff. The other thing that I wanted to talk about there towards the end too, what I like about it when this whole drama is going on, this whole thing, we gotta take out Hoffa, is I noticed that they don't play music in this scene, in these scenes towards this last half, towards this area right here. There's no music at all. There's no score, no soundtrack, nothing. It's just the noise of the wind, the trees, the tire, the air. And there's something very haunting about that. I've said that many times with films that I like, where there's just, and I was questioning myself. I'm like, why is this something haunting? Like the natural noise of the world is kind of haunting. I talked about it in Batman: The Long Halloween, where I felt like something eerie is outside, where they don't play music, but you can feel like something's out there. Right here, it's kind of just depressing, and there's something that I'm thinking about, but I can't figure it out properly. It's in my head, but I can't figure it out. But there's just something about it with him driving the car, and then it's just quiet, and it's just something like really traumatizing and haunting right there, with no music score, no soundtrack, no nothing from an artist, a music artist or anything. It's just playing. It's just there, and the sound of the plane going too, when Buffalino drops him off at the airport for him to go take out Hoffa, and then coming back. And when they come back, when it goes back, when everything's done, Hoffa's taken out, the music comes back. But during this depressing time of something that they don't want to do, something they're about to do, there's no music score, there's no sound, nothing like that. Just, oh well, there is sound, but too natural sound. Not anything that's from editing, like music or score. Just like sound from the environment that they are in, which is I thought was great. And it makes it really scary. Being from this film that I was laughing in like the first 2 hours or an hour and a half. I was laughing and there's some comedy sense of humor in it, and now I'm here where I'm kind of scared, and I think that's something that's great about the film. The other heartbreaking scene is when they pick up Jimmy Hoffa, and just the look of the Pacino gives, like, to, like, when he just looks over to De Niro's character Frank, and he gives him this look too, like kind of like a child, like he's like, oh, you're my friend, and kind of it also feels like you're not betraying me, are you, or anything. Kind of gives him this look like, oh, well, I feel kind of. Then it goes like, well, I am safe with you. And he gets inside the car, and then I said this last time, like, they give each other a hug, and to me that scene was so heartbreaking. That's another part where I kind of wanted to cry, where they give each other a hug, right? And because we know what's gonna happen, but just that scene right there where they give each other a hug, and I tell you, I felt it in the theater, man. I don't know if people were kind of sobbing, but when I went into the theater, you felt that effect. It affected the audience, of just that little gesture, because we knew what was going to happen. We knew the relationship with Jimmy Hoffa and Frank Sheeran, and this whole thing of, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to have to do it, this guilt too. So I think that's what makes that movie amazing, man. I think The Irishman is a perfect film. It is long, man. I forgot how long it was. I mean, since I just saw the Batman, I'm like, oh, it won't be that bad. But I think I put this movie on like at 6:30, and then by the time I turned it off, I think it was like 10 o'clock. And I'm like, oh shit, it was that long. But there's not a part where I yawn, where I want to look away. I probably had to pause it just a few times, but not something where I'm like, I don't need to see that. I love every scene in this film, this whole story from beginning to end. I love it all. The acting is great. The directing is great. The cinematography is great. I was remembering about the cinematography on how I think Rodrigo Prieto was talking about the colors of Kodachrome and all that. And so they stand out like around that era of when this was all about, like 50s, 60s and 70s, I guess. But yeah, those things were amazing. All that stuff. I remember too, I was thinking about this. I remember too that I was following Martin Scorsese since I was young. And I remember there's a film that he was, and I totally forgot about this until they brought it up a few years ago. This was supposed to be the winter of Frankie Machine. But it turned out they ended up doing The Irishman instead. If you guys haven't read The Winter of Frankie Machine, I suggest you guys do. It's a good book. I liked it. I was still, like, I think in high school or just out of high school around this time. And they were talking about how Robert De Niro was going to play this mobster again. And so, which is what excited me, because I'm like, oh, Robert De Niro is going to play a mobster and this, like, gangster that's kind of like a hitman. The Winter of Frankie Machine. I forgot the author's name. I'm not sure if it's Don Winslow or it's someone else. And so I was getting so excited that I went to the library to check out the Winter of Frankie Machine, and I read it, and I loved it, man. From beginning to end, I love that book. I was able to, like, turn the page and just wanted to keep on reading, and then gets to the end. And I love that book and all. And then when it brought up a few years ago, it popped up on social media, and then I was like, oh yeah, they were supposed to do the Winter Frankie Machine. I'm like, damn, I wish I would have seen that movie. I think the author of that book talked about how he was upset because someone ended up giving them The Irishman, because I think Robert De Niro was trying to like get into character of Frankie Machine, so they were giving him books, anything he could of hitmen that were at that age already, and they ended up giving him The Irishman, and he ended up falling for The Irishman and ended up giving it to Martin Scorsese, and so they totally ignored Winter Frankie Machine and went with this one instead. So they just forgot all about that and left it behind. But I remember I was getting excited for that film, and I totally forgot about that. But that evolved into The Irishman, so it's kind of cool. Either way, it's just, we still got a great gangster film. Um, I love it. I love The Irishman. I love Martin Scorsese. I can't wait for his next film with Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon. So I can't wait for that. And yeah, guys, that's my review. I did tell you guys I went to go see the film in the theater at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. I'll try to put up some pictures. I have to find them, but I'll try to put it up so you guys can see when I went over there. I remember I got up so early because I was so excited to go see this film, and I was like, I have to go see that in the theater. I don't want to watch it on Netflix. And I went early. I remember walking down the stars and everything, and then I'm like, you know what? I think it's time to line up. So I went and I was the first one there. And then not that long after me, I thought I was going to be like the only nerdy one there just waiting in line for a long time. But then not that long after me, people started coming. And there's this guy, I remember this freaking guy in a track suit. This big guy, heavy side and all that. And he comes and he's in a tracksuit, and then he talks like an Italian. He's like, hey, you Martin Scorsese fan? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, me too. I'm the biggest Martin Scorsese fan here. And I'm like, it was just funny to see him. I mean, you could tell, yes, he was a Scorsese fan and probably a gangster film fan. I don't know if he enjoyed the picture, because it is kind of, I did feel like maybe some people would have seen it as a slow picture. I didn't. I thought it was great. But I didn't know what they would have thought of. But yeah, not after him, then a big line filled up all the way, and it was amazing, man. The line just went up on, and we ended up getting some cards from there, which I didn't know, or I don't know if I did know or not. But we saw the movie, and then right when we came out, they were giving these out, and these are the things that I was talking about. Look, they gave us this. I still haven't opened mine because I didn't really want to open it. I wanted to leave it in there. So they gave us this card from Martin Scorsese's The Irishman, which is amazing. It's kind of banged up here. I noticed when I took it out of the closet, probably from when I moved, I probably hit it, or I don't know if I got it like that. And look at here. This is a Scorsese directing De Niro right there, which looks amazing right there. I would love to put it on my wall. The thing that sucks, I don't know, this is from the front right here, and this is from the back. So I don't know if they're double-sided, which is going to suck, because then I would want to have each one on my wall. So I don't know if I should open it or not, but so far I haven't opened it. But it was amazing having something like this. I guess this is something they used to do back then around that time, 50s and 60s and 40s. I think they used to give things like this. I forgot, there's a certain name for this. I forgot. This kind of postcard. But they used to give these out. And so, representing the time and being at the theater, they gave it out. And I love that I got my hands on one, and I love that I still have it. And I love that the Criterion Collection put out the movie on there. So yeah, that's my review, I think, on The Irishman. Let me know what you guys think about the film. Let me know what scene affected you most, what scene you thought was funny, or just what was your favorite part of the film. Yeah, that's my review on Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. If you guys enjoyed my video, please hit that like button and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.